Welcome everyone to the eProject Builder Advanced Training webinar. We will focus on what we consider to be some advanced features of eProject Builder, and we did ask folks to sort of review the introductory webinars, but a lot of times people don't have time for that. So we will also include a number of sort of more introductory aspects to eProject Builder for today. So first, for those who don't know, eProject Builder is a obviously secure web-based online energy project tracking and reporting system. It's free. It is used by federal government, state government, local, educational, private sector. I mean, really anybody who has an energy retrofit project or an energy project in the building that's got costs and savings can use eProject Builder to collect the data in a standardized way, to track their progress, their realized savings, to build a portfolio of projects for analysis, and even to use kind of a digital filing system to preserve a lot of valuable documentation. So, it's a really great tool to preserve that information in perpetuity. It also allows you to develop project scenarios. We have a calculating template in eProject Builder and output lots of different kinds of reports. In terms of this third bullet point here, the two pathways, we've got the full-featured eProject Builder, which was originally created primarily for federal projects in the federal sector. But there's a newer pathway, if you will, into the same database called eProject Express, and that was designed based on the needs of state, local, and educational organizations that didn't necessarily need the full large number of fields that are in eProject Builder. So we have over 3,000 projects across all markets in the database now, and they represent over $22 billion of investment and over $32 billion in total guaranteed savings. So, data management, really important. Having your data at your fingertips, managing your data gives you a lot of information that you need to evaluate, to prove the value of your projects, to report, etc., whatever your needs are. So having a data management system does help you report your program and project impacts. You can respond to information requests, whether you're an ESCO or a customer, right? Having access to that stuff helps you respond to those requests faster. It helps you do analysis that demonstrates the value of your projects. In many cases, it might help you fulfill reporting requirements, particularly in the federal sector, but also in the state government sector. You've got to report to the legislature. What are we doing with our performance contracting projects? How much are they saving, et cetera. And then it also helps track M&V for that persistence validation. Are you getting the savings? What are you achieving year over year? So eProject Builder provides a tool that helps with all of this. So it puts that power of data management to work for you. As I mentioned briefly, a really critical piece of eProject Builder is the ability to preserve not only data in a relational database, but also documents, critical documents, things like meeting minutes, et cetera, that will be informative down the road when your project is a few years into the performance period, and you might need some information to justify those payments you're making for your project. Also, collecting the data in a standardized fashion helps you with analysis of your projects across your portfolio. And also, this is a benefit both to the customer side of use and the ESCO side, is just having that information, those documents at both the customer and the ESCO's fingertips alleviates sort of those racing to call your ESCO to get a certain piece of information if that information is already in eProject Builder. And of course, we offer free training and one-on-one user support like this webinar and other kinds of technical support. So as a sort of a recap for those who may know this already, or a reminder for those who maybe took a training a long time ago, there are three key roles in eProject Builder on any particular project that's in the system. So there is what we call the project initiator. Typically, that's going to be the customer, but not in every case. But it's the person or the party responsible for initiating a project, just setting it up in ePB or eProject Express, EPX, saying, okay, I want to do a project. I'm going to enter some data. So I just set that up in the system and build a shell of a project. And we'll walk you through that. It's very, very quick. It takes about a minute. And then that project initiator also reviews data that's uploaded to the project and approves it and archives that sort of the final, if you will, financial schedules or final proposal. And that party is also responsible for if the project needs to go through a modification, they would unlock it and allow the ESCO to modify that data and resubmit it. And then also approving the M&V, reviewing and approving the measurement verification or performance assurance information, and also through the system inviting read-only project viewers to be able to have access to your project. Because by default, every project created in eProject Builder is only assigned to one project initiator and one project builder, typically the ESCO, for security purposes, but they are allowed to add other people, for example, a manager at your organization who can have read-only access if they want to also output reports on your portfolio. So the next primary role is, of course, what we call the project builder, the one responsible for uploading the data, filling out the data template, and then submitting that data for review by the project initiator. Again, this is typically the ESCO. It could be the utility in the case of a UESC or another kind of contractor that is, doing a project for someone, for a customer. There are a few exceptions. So, for example, for NAESCO accreditation, ESCOs are both the project initiator and project builder for projects that they are entering for accreditation. And in the case of, for example, some states that we're working with, some state energy offices, they've got a whole bunch of existing project data that they want to get into eProject Builder. And in those cases, they're not going to go back to the ESCOs and ask them to upload it. They've got the information. They're going to initiate the projects and enter the data themselves. Down the line, they may give their ESCOs access to upload M&V data if they're going to continue to track M&V. Just a couple of variations on these roles. And then finally, this project viewer stakeholder. These are third parties. They could be someone else on your team. It could be a management person on your team or in your organization that the project initiator and or the project builder can give specific access. And I'll show you that feature in a little bit. So conceptually, eProject Builder and eProject Express are kind of simple. There's two key components. There are the Excel-based data templates. There are templates for uploading the project proposal information, the final proposal information. There's a different one for eProject Builder versus eProject Express because eProject Express is simpler. And then there are M&V templates where you simply fill out an Excel form and upload it to upload your M&V, a summary of the M&V findings to the system where you can track that over time. So there's those templates, and then there's the online system where this data is uploaded along with documents and where that's tracked. It's a very secure website. We have, of course, HTTPS, but we have a two-step login. So those of you who've used it know that when you log in, you are asked to enter a separate security code or authorization code that gets emailed to you. So you have that two-step login process. And then we do have lab security and also third-party security detection of vulnerabilities and addressing any vulnerabilities. So this is just a quick look at a single year and cumulative project M&V report. We're going to go into this more in detail later in the session here. There are some new features. We haven't actually sent out a newsletter to all the ePB users lately, and we should because there have been some changes recently. We did create a new greenhouse gas calculator in the ePB template. It's not in eProject Express. That's too simple. This is just in the eProject Builder more full-featured template. And it will calculate your estimated greenhouse gas impacts based on your estimated savings, electricity, natural gas, etc. And this is a key tool for those federal agencies that are applying for affect grants. We also added fields for wastewater and sewer because they might have different escalation rates than water if you're escalating your savings. And we've added those also to the M&V module. We're still working on adding those to the custom reporting feature. That's not quite ready yet because that's all pretty new. We also fairly recently added some features to help federal agencies be more audit ready, including fields around witnessing and documentation of O&M saving source. And we also have a pretty cool feature where when you upload an M&V data for a particular year, including the implementation post-installation verification, there's a space where you can put in next year's M&V due date. And if you put that in, the system is going to send an email automatically to the project initiator, the project builder, and any project viewers about when the next M&V report is due. So that's helps with that M&V compliance. And we are working on a tool that will detect possible errors in the data template upload. It'll kind of compare information to a database and just give some warnings saying these numbers look a little funny. Are you sure you want to upload that? That's in process, and we'll keep folks posted on when that's ready. So if you haven't already registered for eProject Builder and you want to, just go to eprojectbuilder.lbl.gov. There are 2 different kinds of accounts you can get and request. If you request an account on the main site, that is the site where you are going to enter real project data. So we do vet all applications for an account, make sure you are an authentic ESCO or an authentic customer if you're getting an account on the main site, or perhaps a manager or project facilitator type person. But if you're curious about eProject Builder and eProject Express, you can request an account on the training site, epb-test.lbl.gov, and just play around with it and see what it's about. So for today, we're going to review the portfolio and dashboard functions. We're going to do an overview of the eProject Builder template for those who are not familiar with it. Greenhouse gas calculation tool as part of that will show how to adjust or use the template for these different types of projects. That's UESC, Utility Energy Service Contract, which is mostly a federal tool, but at least one state is using that. ESA in our case means a Federal Energy Sales Agreement, which is a combination of the ESPC and a PPA, and then direct funded projects. We'll take a look at using the ePB M&V template and module. We'll look at the custom reporting feature, and then if there is time and if we have some federal attendees, we can look at the LCCA tool and also the ECM price benchmarking tool. So I'm going to stop sharing for just a second, and I'm going to switch over to demo mode here so that we can look at the demonstration. Give me 1 second to get the screen up and going. All right, so I'm going to have to log in and I'll just show you that really quickly. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen again now. Oh, I see some messages in the chat. Someone says they can't hear anything. I'm sorry, Ginger. I think you might be the only one, so you may need to, well, you can't hear anything. You can't hear me saying it. Ginger, you may have to check your Zoom and computer audio settings.
Yeah, I asked her to log out and log back in.
Okay.
So see if that helps.
Okay, great. All right, I will go ahead and share my screen here. Make sure I share the correct screen. All right. Great. All right. Hopefully you are seeing the eProject Builder screen. I'm going to go ahead and log in. And then you'll see the multi-factor authentication. It says you need to verify. So I'm going to go into my eProject Builder email, and here's the account verification email. And you simply go into the email you receive, copy and paste that in there, and it will let you in. Great. So first I want to show you, for the folks that aren't familiar with it, the first time you log in, you will get a choice of, do you want to generally see the eProject Builder menu system or the eProject Express menu system? You can choose depending on which kind of user you're going to be, but you can always access either one. These quick links over here are always available to everyone. I am actually logged in with an ESCO type account. We have ESCO type accounts and customer type accounts. As an ESCO type account, you have access to the NAESCO accreditation and DOE qualified list of ESCOs applications. If you have a customer account, those will not show up on your menu. Also up here in kind of in the upper right, there's the ePB menu or the EPX menu. They're slightly different. Just again, you can access anything from anywhere pretty much, but it just gives you a little bit of a difference. So if I were to initiate a new project from here, it's going to automatically make it an eProject Express project, but I can still choose to make it an eProject Builder project if I wanted. But this is, I'm going to mostly focus on eProject Builder in this session. So in terms of initiating new project, it's very quick. For those that aren't familiar, you just fill in a project name. Let's call it May 22nd test. And you can choose the market segment. If it's federal government, you can choose the federal contract type. If it is state and local, you can choose the state and local submarket. Let's just choose federal, and let's just say it's IDIQ, just for the heck of it. And I'll just type in a zip code. Here is really important. So if you're a customer, at an agency, a school district, you need to make sure before you initiate a project that your ESCO, whoever's going to be the project builder, has an account in eProject Builder. Because if I just put anybody in there, like let's say Joe Smith at esco.com, and they aren't in the system, it will say that is not registered. So you need to make sure that whoever you are choosing to be your project builder already has an account in eProject Builder. In this case, I'm just going to, for simplification, I'm going to name myself as a project builder. I will be acting as the customer and the ESCO, if you will, just for ease of demonstration purposes. So I'm going to enter my Berkeley Lab address and go ahead and create a project. And really, that's all it takes. So if you're a customer, and there it is, May 22 test. So as soon as you create a project, we get sent right to this portfolio page. And if you ever want to go to the portfolio page, that link is up here in the upper left, near the upper left. So once we're on the portfolio page, for those that aren't familiar, this gives you your list of projects. Of course, I test eProject Builder all the time, so I have a lot of test projects in here. One thing that's really cool about this portfolio view is over on the far right, there's this columns, little tiny columns thing. If I click that, I can actually choose which fields I want to have displayed, and it will save that for you. The other things I'll point out are, you can see that the project names have a blue link, and that of course means they're clickable. And if we click these, we go to each project's dashboard. Before we do that, we can see other things. We can see market segment. I can see my role on the project. I usually test it as making myself both the project initiator and project builder, but sometimes I'll test it with someone else being my partner. So someone else will be the project initiator, and maybe I'm just the project builder. And that's that PB there. And likewise, if I initiate and name someone else as a project builder, I'll show up as just the PI, project initiator. Project type, we've got eProject Builder project types, eProject Express project types. Again, I won't go in too much detail, but eProject Express is much simpler. It has a one-page data template as opposed to a multi-tab data template, which we'll review for eProject Builder. This status column here shows kind of what's going on with each project. So for example, pending means a project has been initiated, nothing's happened to it yet. No data has been entered and submitted. We can see this one here, the second one is pending, and there does seem to be some data in there, but in this case, the data has not yet been submitted for review. I'm just gonna click status because then it'll sort by different types. So I'm gonna go all the way down to the bottom. Let's make that reversed. Go to the top. Here's one that's in pre-approval status. That means that the project builder or the ESCO has submitted the data and the customer or project initiator has not yet reviewed and approved it. And then these here in approved status mean that the project has indeed been submitted, approved, and something special happens when the project is approved. It archives the financial schedules and permanently archives them on the project dashboard, and then the M&V module unlocks and is ready for M&V data to be entered. And the M&V also has the same system. It can be pending with no data entered. It can be in pre-approval status with some data entered, and it can also be approved with some approved data entered. Looks like we have a couple of chats. So we'll answer questions later. You can we'll ask you to unmute and ask your questions later. All right. Let's see. So I think next we will go to the dashboard. Let's see. I think I'll show, let's see, you can also search your projects if you know a particular name. So I'm going to search for a federal enable project that I have here. All right. So this particular project is in approved status, and you can see that up here. So the dashboard gives us a bit of information, where it's located, what the automatically assigned eProject Builder ID number is. It's an eProject Builder project. It's in approved status. It's got a 21-year performance period, etc. And then there's this little box in the middle with next steps. Suggested next step. There's many things you could do, but that's just, it says you could add some M&V data if you want. Over on the left side of the dashboard, we've got some different little options here. You can actually view the project data online. I'm not going to go into that too much here. You can look at the schedule archive. So as I mentioned, when a project is approved, there is an archive PDF created and archived permanently. If a project goes through a mod, gets unlocked and reapproved, another archived PDF is here and the old one stays as well. You can also view what we call the financial schedules in eProject Express. We call it a project summary. Kind of federal sector sort of talks about schedules, but in the state and local sector, schedules isn't such a used term, so we use the project summary. So here's a way you can look at an HTML version of all the data fields in that your project has, the escalation rates, all the different schedules, which we'll talk about in a minute. Or you can download this as a PDF file. Very easy to download this and share. And you can even look at this and download it for a project that's still in pending status. So let's say you're the ESCO and you've entered some data, but you're not ready to submit it. You could simply download this and send it to your customer. Or you could, of course, send them the actual Excel template if you want, which we'll look at in a bit. This next item here on the left, project documents, is really, it's the digital file cabinet, if you will. It's a very simple, it's just one bucket to upload a bunch of documents. So there's a possibility that we'll make this into a more robust sort of filing system. But for now, it's really very helpful to include at least critical information. It accepts zip files, PDFs, Word files, Excel, whatever. So for example, here I've got contracts, utility bills, pre-construction photos, meeting minutes, things like that. So anything that you really want to make sure is with the project for the duration and accessible by, the various parties, that's really helpful. This one here, manage participants, tells you who's the PI, who's the PB, and who are your project viewers if you've added any. I am, of course, acting as both the project initiator, PI, and the project builder, PB, but in most cases, these two people will be different. Let's see. Oh, well, actually, in this case, I did notice I am actually only the PB with my eStewart at lbl.gov, and I have another account that I made the PI. So in this case, they are actually different. And that's probably the more normal role. If I wanted to add a project viewer, I'm going to add you, Shankar. And I just click the little search, the magnifying glass to make sure that this person I'm trying to add is in the system. Yes, Shankar Ernie's in the system. Submit. And now this means that Shankar has read-only access to my project data. So if he logged in and went to the portfolio, he would see this project in his portfolio list. And if I get mad at Shankar and decide I don't want him to help me anymore, I can delete him. Or if he's no longer with the project, etc. So let me go back to the main dashboard. And I think we will, now we'll demonstrate the template. So let me go ahead and bring the template up. And Shankar, I think I'll start and then you and I will share duties on the template. Let me put that down here. That down here. Great. All right. So this is the eProject Builder template. Again, this is going to be a very quick review, but we do want to talk a bit about some of the newer features, including Schedule 4G, the GHG tool, and using it for an ESA project. So of course, when you download it, you can download this from the ePB help page or the home page. It will, of course, be empty. But there are two different versions of the, oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong, no, this is right. This is funny, I named it very funny. So anyway, I'll ignore the name of this file. But there are two versions of the template that you download. One that does automatic calculations of the amortization schedules, and one that does not, where you have to enter all that stuff manually. We're going to show the calculating version just for expediency. And it comes with nothing entered in here. But this field is very critical. It's really the first one you should fill in if you're doing the template, what kind of project it is, because it will dictate some of what shows up in the template. The template has slightly different behavior, depending on if you're doing a guaranteed savings or a UESC would be a little different, an ESA would be different, and direct funded would be different. So for starters, I'll show you just a quick tour of what it is for a guaranteed savings project, and then we'll talk a bit about ESC and federal ESA. So the yellow fields mean these are fields you can fill in. The gray fields are fields that come from elsewhere. So the project name does not need to be filled into the template because that was created when you initiated the project in the online system. When you upload this template to that, they will be tied together. This is the calculating version of the template. So it does have some required fields in order for it to be able to do its calculations and be uploaded. Those fields are indicated in red text with asterisks for people that might be colorblind. Agency name, of course, in the federal sector, the interest rate is the sum of index rate and added premium and other sorts of things. Again, I'm not going to go into great detail. We have other training videos on that. guaranteed percent of estimated savings. But here's the summary schedule, which gives an overview of the project. The annual escalation rate schedule is next. If you are escalating your utility savings, as you probably should, here's where you can enter that information for up to 25 years. The first row here is kind of captures whatever your implementation period is plus the first year. So however much you think it's going to escalate during that time. Schedule 1, annual cost savings and payments. So as you can see here, this is all in gray. It's being automatically calculated by other inputs, including interest rate, the price of the ECMs, and the savings. If there's anything happening during the implementation period, year 0, it goes up here. And even if there's nothing happening, if 0 is you don't count any savings, you don't guarantee any savings, there's no payments during the implementation period. If you're using the calculating template, you've got to at least put a 0 in there because those are required fields. We will look at different versions of Schedule 1. This Schedule 1U down here at the bottom is grayed out right now because we chose guaranteed savings. If we had chosen UESC, we would be using this Schedule 1U. Same with this Schedule 1EE here down in blue, grayed out now, but if we choose ESA from the project agreement type on the summary page, this will be ungrayed out and you'll use this version. So we're going to skip over to Schedule 2A very quickly. This is where each ECM is entered. You must fill out an energy technology category and a title for your ECM, and also the price, which is broken into cost of goods and services, base construction, and project implementation delivery charge. The definition in the federal sector is a little bit better than, your base goods and your overhead and markup. But use these two cells as is required by your program. If you're, if you're a school district and you don't do it this way, you could certainly just put something in here and just add 0 here if that's better for you. If there are any upfront applied incentives, those go in this column, but know that those incentives will reduce the implementation price. So for example, let's say we put, 500,000 in this one, that will actually reduce the implementation price of that ECM and the entire implementation price. So if you want to represent your entire implementation price somewhere on Schedule 2A, there are other places to put these incentives. I could talk about that also. Schedule 2B, I'm not going to talk about much. This is only required for FEMP IDIQ projects. It's just a different way to slice and dice the project pricing. Schedule 3, performance period cash flow. This captures things happening during the performance period. So for example, up here, row 6, this is where any incentives that might be helping to pay off the project can be put in. This is a place where you could, for example, put any kind of incentive. If you don't want to put it in Schedule 2A, you could put it into year 1, especially if it's happening in year 1, RECs, other sorts of things there. You can also tweak the dollar savings retained by customer if you need that to be higher to keep some money for some other expenses. I won't go too much into detail of that for this. M&V, of course, very important. This is a required field. If you're not doing M&V for some reason, you can just put 0 in here, but you've got to put something in here if you're using the calculating template. Same for a performance period delivery percentage, basically, your overhead and profit. That is the performance period cash flow. Schedule 4 is where the baseline information gets entered. And very importantly, what's your first year M&V option? This is required in the calculating template. We have a long list of items. It's IPM, VP, A, B, C, D, also retro commissioning, O&M, and retro commissioning, and other, or even unknown. So you've got a lot of options there. So there's plenty of choices. So you can choose to fill in your baseline electricity, demand, natural gas. Oh, I need to go back and tell you about other one and other do. So let me do that right now. We're going to go back to the escalation rate schedule because here is the space where you decide if you're going to have other fuels, other non-electric fuels besides natural gas, what they are. We've got a list here: coal, diesel, heating oil, fuel, purchase steam, etc. And so choose here and add your appropriate escalation rates for those. Then those are going to automatically populate over here on Schedule 4. So you can then enter your baseline usage for those. This data here is just dummy data, so it's not supposed to represent a real project, but so you put that baseline. And then there's other sorts of, water, wastewater, other kinds of energy and resource, non-energy costs. And then there's even a little list of like the types of non-energy costs that you can choose if you want to use that. Then over here, you enter your estimated annual savings, your first year annual savings, both the units, kilowatt hours per year, and dollars amounts, so dollars per year. We have demand, we have natural gas, and again, we've got these other fuel types that are carried over from the escalation rates schedule. And there's some sums that happen. Everything gets converted into MMBTU here. So we have a total energy savings in MMBTU and energy cost savings. And of course, everything is automatically summed. I'm going to scroll down way to the bottom. Everything is automatically summed at the bottom as well. And then similarly, I didn't put anything in here for this demo, but if you've got water, wastewater, O&M, other kinds of savings that are happening, those get added there, and then they get added to the total annual cost savings here. And then what's kind of cool is we bring over the implementation price from the other tab there, tab 2A, and then there's a simple payback time calculated. And this is pretty cool. You can obviously see how various payback times are bundled in an ESPC for a very reasonable payback time. And all of that information gets flowed into the amortization calculations. So if we go back to our summary schedule, we can see that all of that is adding up to a performance period of 22 years. And we can see that also reflected in Schedule 1, where all of the payments and savings are developed here and calculated and then summed at the bottom for you. If this were the non-calculating template, this whole Schedule 1 would be all in yellow, and you would need to do this all manually. It would not calculate that. It would not calculate your performance period, things like that. You'd have to do that all manually. So I'm going to jump here. So from Schedule 4, back to Schedule 4, where we've got our annual estimated savings, we've got Schedule 4G, which is our GHG, our new GHG tab. So what we can do here is I'm going to go ahead and let's just select a region. Let's do WEX Southwest. So what's happening here is I'm choosing the eGrid state region for each of my ECMs. If they're in different locations, that's fine. You can choose different eGrid regions. And it is applying the eGrid factor, the EPA eGrid factor, to my electric savings. So I've got my electric savings here, and it's applying the 113 kilograms CO2e per MMBTU, and it is giving us the kilogram CO2e here. So this is a really key piece of the AFIC grants for those federal agencies. The AFIC grant looks at this GHG tab to kind of look at what your savings are going to be, without the grant, and then as you add, your additional decarbonization and you ask for a grant to cover the extra cost, you'll obviously see more GHG savings, and those will be calculated in your before and after. And then similarly, everything's kind of automatically created. There's no eGrid region for natural gas emissions factor. It's pretty standard. Same for the other heating oil, diesel, and other kinds of um, fuels. But you do have the option here. These are automatically filled in, but you have the option to change them. If you think your heating oil has a different factor than 74 kilograms CO2 per MMBTU, you could certainly change it. That is the GHG tab. Cancellation ceilings tab, I'm not really going to go into. That's just a federal thing. And basically it's what the payoff is going to be if you cancel the contract early. So I think I will just stop here for a second. Let's go back to the summary schedule and see if anyone has any questions at this point. And if not, we will go into showing the different versions. Shankar, how about we show the ESA and I'll let you explain and I'll dry. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, great. So the first thing, if you're doing a federal ESA project, again, that is a combination of a PPA with an ESPC. You need to choose the right project agreement type. And one thing I'll show you here, so we choose ESA, we get a little message here. Hard to see because the square is a little small. We probably need to make that bigger, but it says at least one ECM must be marked as an ESA on Schedule 2A, and it isn't currently. So we will go over to Schedule 2A in a second. Shankar, do you want to say more?
Yeah, I think just gonna back up here. So ESA, for people who are not quite familiar, is basically is a energy sales agreement, is a project structure very similar to power purchase agreement. So it uses the ESPC authority to implement distributed energy projects on federal buildings. So. And it's very similar, as I said, it's very similar to traditional ESPCs because you don't need any upfront capital and the cost savings are guaranteed. So, you have your traditional ECMs that you put in a traditional ESPC, and then there is this other ECM called ESA ECM. So what Liz is pointing out is as soon as you say there is this is an ESA project, you have to designate at least one ECM to be an ESA ECM. So you go back to your Schedule 2A. Liz, can you go to Schedule
Yes.
2A?
Yep.
And then in here, you have to designate at least one ECM to be an ESA ECM. That's in column C. It says Energy Sales Agreement. So you select row 12 to be
Right. Our geothermal there.
geothermal. Yeah.
And it turns orange. And that's to let you know that this ECM is now not calculated in the ESPC portion. So basically it removes this from the ESPC calculation.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
now on its own.
right. And the other thing is it has two different cash flow streams, one for the ESPC side and one for the ESA side of things. Those two are two separate things, and there will be shown as two separate cash flow on Schedule 1. But as Liz was saying, this implementation period of 9.57 million for renewable energy systems in row 12, that's not used in your ESPC cash flow. So we're getting into some of the weeds here, but that's kind of keep in mind. Just these are treated as two separate cash flows.
Well, let's just say that's a PPA and we've got some kind of geothermal PPA. Great. So do you want to look at Schedule 1 EE?
Schedule 1 EE.
Okay.
So let's start with Schedule 1 ESA. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So
Schedule 1.
Yeah, so these are customized Schedule 1s. So the traditional Schedule 1 no longer applies if you're selecting your ESA project. So there is this special Schedule 1 that's meant for ESA side of things. So remember I said two different cash flows. So one for the ESA side of things and one for the traditional ESPC projects. So this Schedule 1 that you're looking at is for the ESA side of things. So again, as I said, is this very similar to a PPA? Is very similar to PPA project. So in order to kind of make this work, again, as Liz was alluding to, all the red fonted fields are required. So you need to, if you look at B year one ESA price, so you need to specify what price is being quoted by your ESCO. So that's this 3.7 cents is what's being quoted, and then then the guarantee percentage, meaning what percentage of the production is guaranteed, and then we also apply a degradation factor. So as these some of these systems degrade over time, so we apply this 0.5% degradation factor. And then the other thing to keep in mind is cell C9 is, if you click on there, so it's basically getting those numbers from your Schedule 4. I think there should be a formula there. That's probably broken. Again, because they're blue, these are yellow fields, they can override it, but typically you're supposed to gather this number from Schedule 4 for the ESA ECM. So that's where it comes, that's where it gets that number. And from there on, you apply your degradation factor, and then you have your your ESA payment, which is basically your annual production times your cost, ESA price, and that's your number. And then there's this thing called FMV, because these are assets that are not owned by the agency or the customer. These are owned by the ESCO, and you are basically purchasing power from them. So this will go for 20 years. So at the end of the 20 years, you have the option to buy that system. So the fair market value price that's listed in cell D4 is what you're expected, what the residual value of the system is. So in order to buy that system at the end of the contract term, you can set some money aside that goes into an escrow, and that can be used to buy that system at the end of the contract term, the 20-year term. So that's the ESA side of things. If you go to the next tab, it's called Schedule 1 EE. Again, this is, oh my God, it got wonky there. So again, as I said, there are two cash flow streams. One is your traditional ESPC cash flow, which can go as high as getting up to 25 years. And your ESA side of things that can only go to 20 years. So that's what you see. There's your estimated in column B, estimated annual cost savings. That's just the ESPC side of things. And then you apply a guarantee percentage. You get to the column C, guaranteed cost savings. And then column E is basically the one that we looked at on the other schedule. And then the ESPC payments is for your traditional ESPC payments. That's in column F. You add E and F, you get to your column D. That's how this is structured. Again, it's to keep in mind that we're not mixing these two cash flows. So it's hard to kind of comprehend for sometimes, but these are two different cash flow streams, and we're putting everything on this one schedule 1 1 EE.
It might be wonky because I think Schedule 3, I think I put the costs out too far. I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just I think drag that $1 all the way to 21 years.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah, that goes all the way to 21, but then I think I had my payments out farther than the actual performance period.
That shouldn't matter. Yeah, that shouldn't
matter. Let's see if that helps. A little bit.
Yep, that helps. So it's a 10-year contract term for the ESPC side of things.
Yep.
And the ESA is, as I said, no matter what, it's always going to go to 20 years. So because that's what the authority statute says. So that's 20 years, and you have your contract term. If you go to your summary schedule, it says the ESPC project has a contract term of 10 years.
Right.
Yep.
Great. Thanks, Shankar. We have a few questions. We will answer those a little bit later. Actually, here's one having to do with Schedule 4. So let's see if we can answer this question from Sarah Morton. Sarah Morton asks, on TO Task Order Schedule 4, if you are doing multiple ECMs on the same system, the baseline gets added multiple times. Should you only enter that baseline on one of the ECMs? Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think if I understand you're correctly, you just want your total baseline, at the bottom to be correct. So if you've got multiple ECMs that are feeding into the same baseline, you'd probably only enter that once. Hope that answers your question. Great. And we'll get to your other questions, Haidar, in a little bit. Well, I'll answer it now, actually. I wonder if EPB supports Canadian projects and infrastructure. Thank you. I don't think we do accept Canadian zip codes yet, but that's probably in the future. And you also asked if there's a similar platform for zero emission vehicle projects. I don't know if you could use EPB
I think
for zero emission.
I think you can use, like, at the end of the day, there's nothing that's the system. There's nothing in here that says this is just for buildings, right? At the end of the day, this is a cost and a savings, and yeah, it can be any mobile assets, anything. It doesn't matter if you can. Yeah, obviously the technology categories are not going to work. You can say other and kind of move on, but at the end of the day, we are looking for costs and savings. That's all we care about, and then it's going to compute your give you your amortization schedule.
Yeah, you could try it and let us know how it goes. So let me go into how to use EPP for a UESC project. That's Utility Energy Services contract, which is mostly a federal tool or federal vehicle, but the state of California Department of General Services does UESCs. So some other states might be using them. I think that GSA is also has a schedule available for state and local folks that might be kind of rolling out soon. So again, you start with the project agreement type, and in this case, we choose UESC. By the way, you might have noticed this very clever color coding. So if we choose guaranteed savings, that orange matches the orange if you look down at the bottom of Schedule 1. If we choose ESA, that blue matches the blue color of the Schedule 1 EE and Schedule 1 ESA. Similarly, if we choose UESC, we get this nice, I don't know, I'd call it plum color, and that matches the Schedule 1U. So when you choose UESC, a few things change throughout the template. Things that have to do with guaranteed savings, because at least to date, UESCs typically don't guarantee savings in the same way that an ESPC does. They do something called performance assurance instead of M&V. So we just change some of the terminology throughout. So for example, just a quick example, if we have guaranteed savings, we look down here, we've got this field called guarantee percent of estimated savings. In this case, the ESCO's guaranteeing 98% of the estimated savings. That's probably kind of high, but if we choose UESC, that actually changes and it just says percent of savings devoted to payments. So just throughout here and there, there's some different terminology changes. So instead of the Schedule 1, we will go to Schedule 1U. You'll see Schedule 1 is now grayed out and Schedule 1U is now open. And so very similar to Schedule 1, except there is no guaranteed savings column. It's got one column less. So it's just the annual, and they're calculated here just like for a guaranteed savings project. The estimated annual savings, the annual payments, and the annual dollar savings retained. And again, if there's anything happening during the implementation period that you want to estimate, maybe there's some payments being made, you can put them here. And if there's nothing going on there, you'll want to at least put 0 in order to upload that. And I'd say that's pretty much it in terms of the difference for UESC in terms of the template. It's very similar. And then one more I will show you is direct funded projects. Sorry, go ahead, Shankar.
The performance assurance, it changes, right? I think that's another.
Yeah. So for example, another one I can show you is Schedule 4. It doesn't say M&V options here. It just says performance assurance options, but still gives you all of those different. Well, that's interesting. Those are still color coded, even though I took them off Schedule 2A. So that might be something we need to fix in the template.
Oh, yeah.
They're still orange. If you color code something and then go back and change it to a UESC, it looks like that still stays. But anyway, performance assurance options rather than M&V options here. So I'll return to the summary schedule and show you one more option, which is direct funded. So you've got a project that's not being financed at all. Basically, all of the financials gets grayed out. There's no interest rate, there's no financing, data financing, etc. But a lot of this information is still left in. And in fact, you can still capture your savings. But we do really recommend that if you're doing a direct funded project, it's probably best if you use the non-calculating version of the template. Because the calculations may really not align with, what you're doing exactly. However, to throw a wrench into the works here, affect grants must use the calculating template even if they are direct funded. So Schedule 1 does still do some calculations for you. Of course, these annual payments won't be applicable. So if your whole project is, let's take a look at our implementation price here, 29,534. I probably won't remember that whole number here, but let's go back to Schedule 1, 29,534. All right, I didn't quite get it right, but you could, as a direct funded project, you could just say, we're making the entire payment upfront. I think I got that number wrong, but it would be the whole implementation price here would go here, and then your annual payments would end up being 0. So if you wanted to use the calculating template for a direct funded project, but again, for anything that's not an affect grant, we would recommend using the non-calculating version of the template. Sorry, go ahead, Shankar.
Yeah, there's a question in the chat is from Ron. Is the use of this tool a requirement for all federal grants moving forward? So that's related, right?
Well, I guess it depends on which grants. It's for the affect grant, yes. You don't actually have to create the project in eProject Builder for a grant application. You just need to download the template, fill it out. There's a really good webinar on how to do that in the whole building design guide website. So you should definitely be in touch with the affect team on that. I'm not sure about any other federal grants. eProject Builder is required for the FEMP IDIQ projects, for projects done under the FEMP Enable program. It's highly recommended for projects done under the federal UESC program. So, it depends on what your customer is requiring of the ESCO. Hope that helps. Great, so I think that's it for the template. I am going to go back to showing the website. And all right, so I think what we'll do now is show you I think I'll show you the ECM price benchmarking tool real quick. Shankar, why don't we go to that? So I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna actually log out because this tool is available without even having an account. So we're going to go under this project statistics tab here in the upper left. And this historic project statistics is starting to get kind of out of date. It's basically some static statistics from an older ESCO database, not eProject Builder. But you can still reference it if you'd like. But we're going to show you the ECM price benchmarking tool. So Shankar, give a
Yeah,
quick
sure,
intro.
sure. Yeah, I remember Liz mentioned upfront that we have a lot of data in eProject Builder, and most of quite a good chunk of it is coming from IDIQ projects. So what we've done is we basically harnessed all that data and tried to uh, develop this ECM price benchmarking tool, which basically provides the ability to compare the cost of prices that for a project with the prices that we are seeing from the historical data Again, this is just for IDIQ projects, and we looked at we basically what we did was we looked at 5 categories of measures, 5 tech categories of measures: boiler plant improvements, building automation systems, chiller plant improvements, lighting improvements, and water conservation measures. So for five of those tech categories, we basically are providing this what we call ECM price benchmarking. And what we need for that is we obviously need the ECM price that you're paying for that, and also the date, the project award, and location, and the savings. So all these prices are normalized for savings, underlying savings, energy savings. So all we need is the price you paid and the savings that you're realizing from these ECMs. So let's just get into that. And also the other thing that we've done is we normalize our historical data for price for year, because to adjust for inflation, and also we adjust for location. So the ECM price that you have in Washington DC is different from what you have it in San Francisco. So we do those adjustments, and this tool is basically running a model to understand where your price falls compared to the historical data.
Right. And you can do it for proposed ECMs, right? Like here's what our ESCO is proposing. So I just click the start a new benchmark button. All right, we'll just call it May 22 demo. Okay, so you definitely need the year project awarded. We can go all the way up to 2032, but let's say the project's being awarded this year. Later this year, you're kind of testing out. Could be, you don't have to fill this in, but let's say there's a facilitator. Did I spell that right? Okay, so ECM type.
Let's do boiler. That's up front.
Okay. And
And
think
for
we're going to do
prices,
$1 million.
2 million. I don't know.
2 million. Okay. All right. And annual
And
savings,
the 3,000 MMBTU.
3,000 MMBTU. And
That's
what state?
California.
Okay. All right. So, and that's it. That's all you have to do.
So yeah, on the left is basically what's the information that you entered on the previous screen. So the 2 million is what you're saying that you're paying currently for that ECM.
Or
And
what the ESCO is saying they will charge you, right?
to get those $3,000 of 3,000 MMBTU of gas or whatever savings.
Right.
So based on our model computed that 2.03 million is what the expected implementation price is. Again, this is a regression model that's running behind the screens. And then it says, your price, whatever you're paying, is very much in line with what the expected price is. It's 2% below the expected implementation price. And all the dots, the purple dot is the offer price, and the orange is what you're paying for your project. So that's kind of the thing. On all those gray dots that you're seeing are the existing data that we have from our our database. And we also we also have these upper and lower prediction limits, so you're 95% confident that it's going to fall in in that band. So yeah, because we have a regression model, and we again, as I said, we do it for four other ECMs: the water, lighting, chiller, and what else I'm missing. Uh, I think that's about it. We again, as I said, we are normalizing for year, and we're only using the past 10 years worth of data to compute these numbers. Uh, and we are normalizing for also the location.
Right. And you can download this. You can download it as a PNG, JPEG, PDF for your results. Great, thank you. We got a question from Joseph Brown. Would we be able to use eProject Express instead of eProject Builder for an AFIC grant? The answer to that is no. eProject Express does not provide the level of data required for an AFIC grant. It's far too simple, unfortunately. And we won't go into details, but there is an introductory webinar to EPX if you are interested, but for the federal sector, it's, and especially for AFIC grants, that answer is no. All right, I'm going to go ahead and log back in. I didn't need to log out, but I just wanted to show you. Oh, well, before I do that, I'll also show you the help and documentation page. There's the eProject Builder side is here on the left. There's a list of upcoming webinars when this is the latest, so there's nothing there right now. The data templates are here, the non-calculating and the calculating version. We will have a new version of the template coming out soon. ePB is generally backward compatible though. So if you're working in one template and we change templates and you want to upload your old template, that usually works. Training documentation, there's a lot of user guides here. There's a little just overview sheet, and then there's a lot of videos. We're going to add today's webinar to this list of videos. And same over on eProject Express. They've got different training documentations, etc. So I will go ahead and log in again here. And I need to authenticate. Usually takes a few seconds for the email to arrive. Let's see how long it takes. Oh, and also you can see when I initiate projects and things like that, it comes into my email here as well. There we go. There's my account verification message. If you ever have problems getting in, it could be because the account verification took a while and you tried to resend a code and then you end up putting in the wrong code. So you can always reach out to us for help if you need it, but sometimes trying a couple of times does the trick. And I just copy and paste and make sure there's no spaces in there when you copy that in. Okay, so we're going to show you a bit about the M&V. So I'm going to go to the portfolio page here. And I'm going to show you, I just uploaded a template here, May 22 test earlier before this demo. And I just want to show you. So the important thing to know about the M&V is that you can't, oh wait, sorry, that's the one I just made. Let me go back to portfolio. I had another one here, this one here. You cannot enter M&V data until the project has at least been approved once. It could be unlocked and worked on and you can still enter M&V data, but the M&V status here you can see in this project here, because it's pending, it's not available. So it's very simple. You know, let's say I'm the customer and I looked at my financial schedules. It's all great. I reviewed it. I'm ready. Okay, this is our final proposal. This is the project we're going with. So I just go back to the dashboard and if I were the customer, it would say approved project. But because I am actually submitting the project as a project builder and I will approve it as a project initiator all in one fell swoop since I'm playing both roles. So we have that flexibility, but I will just click the submit button, submit. And now we can see that it is now in we go look up at the project status, it's now in approved. And now we can add and edit M&V data. So I can either click this button here, or I can go on the left-hand panel. There's a little M&V link there. So we're going to go do that here. And so here's where the project builder is now ready to upload M&V data. And I want to explain what's on this page here. There's several buttons here. We want to, the best practice really is to use the template. You could create a performance year and enter information manually online. I'm not going to demo that because it's not really a recommended best practice. The best practice is to download your M&V template, fill it in, and then when you're done, upload it. I'm going to download it and show you. Really important to remember that when you're in a particular project and you download the M&V template, that particular document is just for that project. It's pre-populated with some of the project information, so only that template can be uploaded to only that project. So when you want to download the template, there are two options: the single year M&V upload template and the multi-year. The multi-year is really only for if you have a lot of projects that you want to get, or if you have a project that has, many years of M&V data that you want to upload all at once, rather than individual years of M&V data, you could use the multi-year M&V upload template. Have to admit, it's not real user-friendly. So if you need to be in that situation, you could get in touch with us. We could help you. So generally, you're going to be uploading 1 to maybe 3 at the most single year M&V years. So it's much, much easier to use this single year template. So I'm going to click on that. Going to download it to my folder, my May 22nd demo folder. And I will show you what that looks like. And then we will look at one that's already been filled out. All right. Okay, so here's our, so you can see that on screen we have project 4788 here, ePB ID 4788. And we have the, and the template here is named 4788. And so only this template can be uploaded to this project. You can rename the template. Like, for example, you might want to add year 1, year 2, something to the name of the template so you know which M&V year you're uploading. So here is the eProject Builder M&V template. For those folks that are interested in using eProject Express, the eProject Express also has an MV template, but it's a single year. The ePB template has multiple tabs. So we have a summary tab, and there are 2 fields here that are in red with an asterisk, and those are required. So we have to fill in which performance year are you reporting for. And whichever one you choose, it could be post-installation verification, or it could be any performance year. That is the year that's when you upload the template, that's the year that will be created. Year 0, year 1, year 2, etc. And then what date are you submitting this? I told you about this one, the next year M&V report due date. This is a really important field because if it's filled in, it will provide reminders of when your next year M&V report due date is. This field here changes depending on what your performance year is. So it's only applicable when it's the post-installation verification period. So I'll show you what happens. So if we choose post-installation verification, this changes to a cell that captures your verified implementation period cost savings. If you are an organization that does capture those savings during the implementation period, this is where they get captured. If you don't, you can leave it blank. And then, of course, in year 1 onward, it just is not applicable. So if there was anything entered in here and this was year 1 or onward, this would not be ingested when you upload the template. So this is our summary schedule. Then the verified savings tab looks very much like Schedule 4 on the project template. So you can put in any adjusted baseline numbers. Then you put your actual verified savings here at the ECM level. You could put it at just the project level too, if you would like, but eProject Builder is specifically designed to really work at the ECM level. So we recommend putting in all of your verified savings. Then we've got some kind of newer fields here that are to help, particularly help federal agencies deal with audits. They've been caught a little unprepared at times, and without knowing when commissioning may have been performed on their ECMs or operations, etc. So as you have the information, you can fill in that information, and it will be captured with your project, and it'll be much easier to find that information later if you do have an audit of your performance contract projects. So that's pretty straightforward. Also, we have a verified GHG savings tab where that's really just going to fill in automatically based on your verified savings. And then savings impacts. It's going to bring over your ECM numbers, your ECM location. And this is a place, usually it's kind of a place to capture shortfalls. Were there negative impacts to energy savings? Were there impacts to the cost savings? How much of it was due to the agencies, maybe mismanaging the project or not maintaining the equipment if they were supposed to be? How much is due to ESCO errors? And then what the causes were. So this is a thing that's, again, mostly used by federal agencies, again, to help with auditing and tracking those kinds of situations where savings are not what they were expecting. Witnessing, again, is a new tab to help particularly federal agencies with auditing. So it gives you a space to make sure that you note that you actually did witness the M&V, the customer witnessed it, what the date was, and then if the customer had to do virtual witnessing, like from a distance, remote, things like that, and then he notes about it. So that is the M&V template. It's got a lot of fields, but conceptually, it's still pretty straightforward. And I'm going to show you a project that already has some data. Let's go back to our screen here. Great. So I'm going to go back to a project that has some data in it already, so you can see how that works and how the reports work. Got my test enable project here. And to go to the M&V, we either click, again, the M&V link on the lower left here, or we go to the Add Edit M&V Data button. So this one's been going for a few years, but looks like our customer has not been approving. If we look over here on the status column, we see a lot of years in pre-approval that the ESCO has been adding, and they haven't been approved. So there's if you've got a project that's been in performance period for a couple of years, whether you're a customer or the ESCO, a quick look at the cumulative report gives you a very quick snapshot of what's going on. So let's just download this cumulative report and show you what that looks like for a project that's been in performance period for a few years. Sometimes my downloads are kind of funny. Let's go back to this. Sometimes when I download it, picks up the name of another file. There we go. Okay, great. Okay, so look at this cumulative M&V report. There we go. All right, that's probably kind of small. Let's make it a little bigger for you to see on screen. So this is just a single year or a single page snapshot of what's going on with M&V. So we can see that our project has a 21-year performance period. It captures the estimated annual savings, the guaranteed annual savings for each of the performance years. And then it shows us where we're at with our verified savings. We can see that year 0 didn't have any verified cost savings, even though there were some that were estimated and guaranteed. So we can see that's a negative 750,000. So that's probably an error. So you could look at that and say, hey, we know we got some savings, so we just need to go and unlock that performance year and get those savings in there. And then for each of these years, we can see that information has been entered and submitted, but it has not yet been approved. So this could be useful for an ESCO that might be getting frustrated that their customer hasn't reviewed the M&V yet. They can go in and say, hey, you guys need to look at years 1 through 4. Just one example of what this can look like. And of course, we have the variance in the savings between the guarantee and what was actually verified. You can see it was positive a couple years, slightly negative 1 year, kind of a lot negative in 1 year. So it's a good snapshot of what's going on there. Another report we can get is a single year M&V report. And when you're here on the M&V summary page, you just go to the action menu on the left, click the 3 dots, click the M&V report, and it will download basically a PDF that looks like all of your M&V pages. So I'll just download it here. And I'll just show you what an M&V report looks like. Oops. No, I want to look at that download, not in my browser. All right, there we go. So a single year M&V report looks like this. Oops, that's also really small. Let's make that bigger. So it's got the summary schedule. It's got the it also kind of recaps. I'll make this a little smaller actually, so we can see the whole thing. It recaptures the annual proposed savings. Basically, it recaptures what was on Schedule 4. So that makes it a little easier to compare when you're looking at your M&V annual report. Then it captures what the verified savings were. If this was the implementation period, the post-installation verification, it would be the expected savings as opposed to the verified savings, but same principle. And then if there were any, oops, sorry, it's hard to get it on the exact spot. There we go. Verified savings. This is sort of part 2 page number with all the CX, RX perform date, etc. And then our detail of any impact due to performance and O&M issues, etc. And then the customer witnessing. So it's basically just producing what you had in your M&V template for reporting purposes, etc. So that is the M&V template. Very quick look at that. I'm going to do a very quick demonstration of the LCCA report. This again is only for federal folks. So for federal projects that are in approved status, you can simply click this LCCA report, and it does a very quick, it does an NPV calculation for you for your project. This report will not work if your project is not in approved status, or if it doesn't have the required information. You need basically all the information that was in Schedule 1. You need the payments and the savings. But it generates a very quick LCCA report. And I know this is a requirement of federal. I can't remember, Shankar, is what the requirement is. It's for IDIQ projects, I think, to have to do LCCAs, and maybe Enable is too, right?
No, I think in general, right, federal projects have to do some kind of a LCCA analysis, LCC analysis
Right,
before investing in a project.
right. And that's basically the lifetime. I can't remember what LCCA stands for.
Life cycle cost
Life
analysis
cycle, right,
this is basically you're trying to look at the total cost of ownership, right? That's if you're
right,
owning an asset, you want to look at not only the OpEx and CapEx, but you also want to look at all the like residual value and things like that. So it takes into account all the numbers that are on Schedule 1 and tries to give you one number, which is the net present value. In this case, it's, so as I said, yeah, column B is basically your estimated cost savings, and then there's the annual payments, and it subtracts those two and tries to do an NPV on that. So for this project, it's the total NPV is 1.045 million. That's listed on cell
Right.
D30.
D30, yeah. Yeah.
And we use what, 3% discount rate, right?
3% discount rate. Yeah,
Yep.
that's pretty much what the government uses.
Yep.
So that's for federal folks. All right. And in our last few minutes, sorry, it's really hard to fit this all in. The custom reporting feature. Let's go to the analysis reporting. I'm going to have to be very, very quick. But to give you a quick overview, we do have a longer training video on this on the website. You have choice here to do custom report. So you go to the analysis and reporting. Custom report, so you can build your own report. So you can, for example, start searching fields. I just want a list of all my projects. So I've picked project name, I click the plus, and I want to show a list of my project names. Very simple report, and I run the report. Great list of project names. Let's say I want to just get a count of my projects. I can click that project name again, go to analyze by, and I just want to count. So I'll do that, and I will run the report. And it gives me a count by project name. Of course, that doesn't make any sense. So I can delete project name and run the report, and then it just gives me a count of my projects. That's a very, very quick overview of the kinds of analysis you can do here. A great way to get started using this is to actually go to our report library. And I have to admit, there's a couple of funky reports in here. I think we're going to update this, but there's a couple of really useful reports. If you like this one down here, project summary, just click the plus, run this report, and whatever you've got in there, it only reports, it's really important to say it only reports on the projects that are in approved status. But in my case, I decided I wanted project name, award date, performance period, implementation price guaranteed, and who's my project builder organization. If you were a typical customer, you might have different ESCOs named under that project builder. So this is a really just great basic report. If I wanted to change it, it's actually pretty easy. I again click the plus next to project summary and I click edit as new report. And now it shows me the editing field. So I can move these around if I want to. I can delete fields if I want to. And I could, let's say I want to know sort of what city all my projects are in, let's say. So I'll search for city and I want to add city, and I'm gonna move city up under project name. All right, I'm gonna run this report. Now I see my city. Got one in Tucson and a bunch in New York. So that's a pretty simple report. It's a nice one if you just want to list. There are other kinds of analysis here in the report library. This one's pretty cool. This was actually requested by, I think, VA. They wanted to know what M&V options are our various ECM technology categories using. So you click the plus next to the M&V option, run this report, and it's pretty cool. So we see our different technology categories: boiler plants, chillers, building automation, etc. We see how many ECMs are using which options. We can see, well, there's one boiler plant using option A, 3 are using option B. Here, HVAC, I've got 4 of my ECMs in my projects are using option A, 2 are using option B, 2 are using option C. So you can, mess around with this. It's pretty infinite, the number of combinations you can do. It is not without bugs, but it's also very powerful. So if you use this and you have feedback for us, we'd love to hear from you on I'd like to see a report that does XYZ. We can see if it's possible the way we have it set up now, or if it's possible we could add functionality that could get you the kind of report. Finally, if you do a report, you can save your own report. So let's say I made a custom report, or let's see, I'll just say, let's go back to project summary. Let's edit as a new report. Let's just delete something just to make this. Okay. And now I can, this button in the upper left, I can save this report. I can save a report for use over and over again to my own library custom. Okay. And that actually goes into my report library and under my saved reports, project summary custom. So that's a very, very quick tour. We do have a training video on that as well.
Yeah, a related question, Liz. If we fill out eProject Builder information worksheet, will it automatically populate and create the project statistics graphic? If all the information or all the projects that you enter will show up in your profile, in your dashboard, and you can run these statistics on, you can run these analysis and reporting on your set of projects. And none of the data is going to go into that ECM price benchmarking. That's a curated data set that we had, and we kind of want to keep it that way because we did a bunch of cleaning and all that. So you can run analysis on your reports, and you can run statistics. You can do statistics on your set of projects.
Right. You cannot see. Well, there is a report we call the state roll-up report, where you can see general statistics of all the projects in eProject Builder by state. So for example, California, I can download a report and it just gives sort of like the sum of the implementation price, the sum of the savings, things like that. So there is that report, and we're out of time, so I can't really show it to you. You have to have an account and log in to see that. But in terms of your answer, Joseph, no, there's no dynamic creating the project statistics graphic other than your own analysis. So I hope that answers your question. And with that, I think we have to end the webinar. I will just put up our final slide here so that you can see what we offer in terms of technical support. Obviously, the website eprojectbuilder.lbl.gov. We have training resources on our help page. If you need technical support, you can email us at epb-support@lbl.gov. The phone line is a place where you can leave a message, and we try and respond within 24 business hours if we can. Thank you very much. We really appreciate your time on this webinar.
Thank you.
Take care.